ago, in March, I was just leaving, having had a lovely lunch at the Century with my friends, the Chinlans. And I was with my wonderful friend, Jennifer. And we left, and we walked about 2 blocks, and I said, Jennifer, I gotta really go to the bathroom badly. We gotta find a bathroom. And Jennifer knew me well. This was not a new story. And so we went for about another half a block. There was no coffee shop, there was no diner, there was nothing. I said, Jennifer, it's too late. She put me into a cab, and she took a separate cab, back to the Cosmopolitan Club. Now, I'm telling you, this incident got my attention. I was 74 at the time. I've had this problem since I was a baby. I thought, I am going to figure out a way of healing this. And so I thought, well, I know there are connections between body, mind, and spirit. I've been interested in this my whole life. I'm going to really look into it. So, my body. When I was 2.5, I was moved from Boston to New York by my father with my 3 older brothers because he got custody of us. And within 1 month of that, I developed pleurisy, pneumonia, and I had the eczema really, really badly. And I had started to pull out my hair pretty dramatically. I was put into New York Hospital for a month, and I remember it very well because I had my 3rd birthday there, and my hands were tied to the bed so I wouldn't scratch. So I do remember it. Next hospitalization was when I was 10 years old, so this is 1953. And I have to warm up to that a little bit. I was 10 years old, and I was about to go for the summer to visit my mother. And I was up at Logan Airport, and Mummy spotted me from quite a distance. And she said, "Oh my God, Serita, why didn't your father warn me that you look like this?" And then she said, "But I have an appointment with the best dermatologist in all of Boston tomorrow morning." That was a good day for me. The next morning, I went to Beth Israel Hospital. And the first thing I liked about Dr. Richard Hoffman was that he said, "No, thank you, I'm going to see Serita alone," to my mother. And he took me into his office, and somehow we sat side by side on a gurney. And he took my hands, and he said, "I want you to tell me a little bit about you. What's it like at school? What's going on at home?" And I just felt, oh my God, nobody's ever asked me this before. I'd seen so many doctors by then. And I told him, I'm sure I told him about my 3 older brothers because they were teasing me all the time. And then I talked about my stepmother and how she was having 3 babies already and a 4th one on the way. And anyway, whatever I said, I felt so cared for. And I remember the first thing that really struck out was that he said, "You know this eczema that you have? Okay, your mother and father had a little bit of it too, but it's your family situation. It's your brothers. Those brothers, that's part of what's going on here." Never forgot that. And it did start a curiosity. I went on and studied family therapy later. Anyhow, after that he said, "Would you be willing to come into the hospital tomorrow and let me make your skin better?" And I said, "Sure." So the next day, I went to Beth Israel Hospital, and I didn't know it would be for 4 weeks, but I wished it was for 8 weeks. I loved it, because for the first time in my reflecting back on it, I was getting the attention that I was craving. There wasn't a pediatrician, pediatrics at Beth Israel at that point. So I had all these lovely nurses paying attention to me, and Dr. Hoffman visited just about every day. So it was a wonderful, wonderful month. The 3rd hospitalization that I had was 3 months after I was married, my first marriage. I went on and had 3, but we'll get into that. And 3 divorces. Anyway. But this particular time, I was talking to my father-in-law. And he was the provost at Columbia University at the time, and I have always done badly in academic settings. And I had been to 2 colleges before that, but I was in general studies at Columbia. So I turned to my father-in-law and I said, now, what do you think I should major in? History? English? Of course, I didn't want to major in anything. I hated school. But he said, his name was Jacques Barzin, and he said, you know, Serita, your priority right now is your skin. You've really got to deal with your eczema. And I was quite taken aback, because I get so used to it, I forgot that it, really did show up. So I called Dr. Hoffman. Dr. Hoffman referred me to a Dr. Bayer in New York, and he hospitalized me for a month, this time at New York University Hospital. So I'm 25 years old. I remember it was a little embarrassing the second day I was in there when he asked me to strip down for all the medical students to look at my body, because I had it everywhere. And he said, we're going to start you with some injections of cortisone. And magically, the skin got better. Only it went from injections of cortisone to pills to very strong creams. And I did this over the next many decades to keep the skin okay. And then, one last thing on the body was that after the experience of 2 years ago, I realized that another friend from 4th grade, Kathy, had said, you've never been to a gastroenterologist? You've had this problem all these decades? You've never seen a specialist? I said, no, I guess I haven't. So I went to one, and he thought that I had C. diff. I went for a second opinion later, and she said, I don't think you ever had C. diff, but never mind, that's sort of not part of the story. But the point is that I had a fecal transplant, and that's supposed to make you get better kind of right away, only it didn't. And so I went to an experimental new place up in Providence, Rhode Island called the Biomed Center. And I had 5 days of wonderful, painless treatments, and by God, the gut got better. And so I've become a real promoter of alternative methods. And so what I've taken from the study of my body is that the eczema was an indication of the anger and rage and stuff that I just turned onto myself. And you may remember, but when we were in 5th grade, I kept a hairbrush in my desk so that I could scratch and the teacher couldn't see me. And so I now look at the explosive diarrhea as a way of getting rid of the feelings that I wasn't really conscious of having. So now we'll go to mind, little exploration of the mind. Let's see, how old am I? 47 years old. It's 1990, I think. 1990, yeah. And I am getting my second master's degree to try to prove to myself that I'm not stupid. And I walk down the hall of the Mass General Hospital, and I see Learning Disabilities Unit, and I think, well, now maybe it's a good idea that I look into that, because an awful lot of people have said, don't you think you probably have a few? And I'd always sort of push it in. I'm coping. I'm a coper. So anyway, I signed myself with this miserable ordeal of being tested for learning disabilities. I had this young woman sitting across from me with a book, I swear I think it said intelligence test on it. Maybe I made that up, I don't know. But at one point she said, what is the mayor of Boston? And I said, you know what, I have to go to the bathroom. Excuse me, just a minute. So I went off to the ladies' room, I made it, you'll be glad to hear. And on my way back, I saw that there were a lot of magazines around. So I thought, well, I'm going to just maybe I can find out who he is. And then, oh, to hell with it. Why did I ever do this stupid thing? So anyway, about a week later, I got the report from the male neurologist at Mass General. And he started out by saying, well, Ms. Winthrop tried to humor the examiner. I thought, that bitch. Who wouldn't try to have a little humor when you're mortified? Anyway, then he went on to say, you have multiple learning disabilities, severe attention deficit disorder, and probable fetal, this time, fetal, is that right? Yeah, fetal alcohol syndrome, because my mother had become an alcoholic during my pregnancy. So, with that I said, you know what? To hell with all this academic stuff. I am not stupid, and I learn experientially. And so I started So I started doing workshops, and I love workshops. Now I'm at Spirit. And I'm going to go back to when I was 3 and I was leaving New York Hospital. When I got back to 770 Park Avenue, I had a new nanny, and she was divine. Her name was Eva Hedstrom. She'd originally come from Sweden, and she had actually been in the delivery room when my father was born. And she had raised him and his sister and raised the sister's children. And thank God she came into my life. She introduced me to God, as a matter of fact. I'd never heard of God. And she taught me to pray, and she was just so dear, and she never asked me to stop scratching. She was the only person that didn't tell me, oh, my brothers, constantly, stop scratching, Serita. Ugh. Anyway, but I'm not scratching. I'm telling you how I feel about it. So anyway, the sort of sad part about that is that I loved Eva, and I even wrote letters to God. I really got into the praying. She taught me some lovely ones that I enjoyed saying and really felt, But my stepmother got jealous of my relationship to Eva. So she told my father, we got to get rid of Eva. So Eva left, and so did my relationship to God. And that's only upon reflection that I see this, that for decades I wanted nothing to do with anything religious. I went to an Episcopal boarding school, I wouldn't kneel, I wouldn't sing hymns, I was just rebellious. Until, well, I sprinkled in a few self-help books and a few workshops here and there. But in 1980, when my first marriage was falling apart, I signed up for a lay ministry class. I didn't really know what it was, but I thought, I'm exploring this body, mind, spirit thing. I might as well give this a whirl. So the minister comes in, there are about 12 of us in a room, and he says, now before we actually begin, let's just bow our heads for a minute. And I looked up at the clock and I thought, shit, why did I sign up for this? Oh, God. And then I closed my eyes, and I saw myself as an infant screaming her head off. And I picked her up, and I held her like this, and she stopped crying. And I could not stop the tears from coming to my face. And that made me say, I guess there's more to this spirit thing than I've understood. And I began to, in reflecting, do a lot less of the looking outside for validation that I was okay, that I belonged on the planet somehow. And I really, really got into workshops and feeling that, now, a week ago, I went to Savannah, Georgia with one of my best friends from Boston to hear about a medium talk about becoming a medium. Me? A medium? I don't know. But all I'm saying is I was focused on spirit in a new way. But I have one other thing to say. Last March, one of my friends in Rhinebeck, where I live now, came to me on actually it was my daughter's 50th birthday, and she was furious with me. And so I was feeling kind of sorry for myself. And that all disappeared when my friend said, I have someone that could be a companion for you, and I wonder if you would ever be able to do that. And I said, wow, I have no idea. Tell me a little bit about her. And she said, well, this lovely woman named Sina Dornley comes from St. Lucia. She took care of my father for 6 years before he died. And we just never, she's an angel, Serita, an absolute angel. You'll love her. So I said, well, let's think about it. I went to my daughter, my older daughter, and I said, what is it about the Sina thing that seems to upset you? And she said, Mom, you don't need her. You don't need her. You're perfectly healthy. And I said, you know what? When you were little, I gave you a lot of mother love. And I didn't get that. And I wonder now whether the mother love, lack thereof, had a fair amount to do with some of the struggles that I had. So what I would like to do now is ask if the little child in each one of you would receive from me a shower full of mother love. I am the mother of 4 wonderful children, the grandmother of 10 amazing grandchildren, and I want to shower you all over to have you receive it and really take in what it's like to get mother love again. Because it's not too late. Thank you.